This is the first reading of the Tree Book by Julie E. Rogers. There is not really a good copyright date in here, except for one passage that mentions it was from 1913. So I don't know. There's photography in here, but old book. Anyway, Miss Rogers writes probably some of the most elegant prose about trees that I've ever read, and it's a little bit saucy in some places. I don't know if this is saucy. We're going to read about dogwoods. I just opened to a random section, but I'm going to read a passage because I found this book for $1 at Charlotte Public Library, and it's the best dollar I've ever spent. So let's read about flowering dogwoods. Flowering dogwood, Cornus florida, a small flat-topped bushy tree 15 to 40 feet high. Bark, dark gray or brown, broken into squarish plates. Branches, gray. Twigs, velvety purplish green. Wood, heavy, strong, hard, tough. Brown fine grain. Buds, conical. Flower buds, vertically flattened. Leaves, opposite, simple. 3 to 5 inches long. Oval with midrib and parallel side ribs indented above. Whitish. Flowers, March to May. Before the leaves, in close clusters at ends of branches. Greenish, small, tubular. 4 white or pink involucral. I should practice this next time. Bracts notched at tip. Surround the flower cluster. Fruit, October. Ovid scarlet drupes, half an inch long. Few in a cluster. Seeds, 2. Preferred habit, woodlands west to Michigan, Missouri, and Texas. Uses, hardy and handsome ornamental trees. Wood used for bearings and machinery, hubs, tool handles, also for wood engravings, and wood carving. Bark yields a drug-like quinine, also a red dye. I did not know that about the bark. The striking thing about flowering dogwood in winter is the alligator skin appearance of its gray, checkered bark. This identifies it in any stretch of woodland without further aid to the observer. One notices, too, the grayness and the platform stratification of its bushy top, from whose larger branches the twigs rise with curious bendings so as to hold their clustering buds into the light. The tree has a picturesque waywardness of habit in the woods. It crouches in the shadows of tall trees and leans out to reach the sunshine that sifts through the forest cover. The twigs are thickly set with buds formed in midsummer, for the flowering dogwood is a thrifty, far-sighted tree. The slim leaf buds are inconspicuous among the squat, box-like buds that contain the flowers. I need not tell anyone how beautiful a dogwood tree is when the thick cloud of white or pink flush blossoms cover its bare branches to their upmost twig. It is a sight to remember to the end of one's days. Perhaps it may seem pedantic and even unkind to say here that the beauty of the tree is not in its flowers, but in the 4 large petal-like scales or bracts that surround the greenish bunch of small, tubular, true flowers. In winter, these 4 bracts enfold the flowers. They are the outer envelope of the little flattened and pointed buds. In spring, these bud scales do not fall, but grow at an amazing rate. Only the very tips of them are too dry to grow. They form the peculiar notch at the apex and give the bract an artistic, if rather irregular, twist. These bracts are merely leaves changed for the special purpose of notifying the little mining bee, Andrena, and other insects of like appetites, that there is nectar in the flower tubes they guard. Leafy in texture, though white and delicately tinted, these bracts develop before the flowers and last beyond their fading. So we enjoy the dogwood bloom for weeks in spring instead of days. This is the fact that counts, after all, and the added one that we may go out again and again and bring home sprays of the flowers, and yet leave the tree in better state than it was before. If only we cut judiciously where the top is thickest. Dogwood trees suffer from lack of pruning. Their flowers are stunted by crowding. The grace and beauty of the leaves with their channeled, curving, parallel veins must strike one in summertime. Before they changed color, the clustered fruits standing where the flowers stood burn bright against the leafy background. These shining, waxy berries are never lost to view, even when the foliage takes on shades of crimson and scarlet. They deepen and intensify these royal colors until the hungry birds have taken the last one. The leaves have fallen and left behind a bare gray tree, set with multitudes of buds, pledge of next year's flowers and leaves and fruit. The artist will tell you if you press him, for he doesn't force his notions upon his friends, that the dogwood wears its finest colors in wintertime. Go out into the woods in late February or early March, just when the willows and aspens show green, just a hint of it. Through their telltale bark, all the other early trees wear that rapt, expectant look that precedes the bold casting off of bud scales. The silky twigs and velvety buds of the dogwood, alive and thrilling with the stir of the sap, show marvelous tones of olive and gray, and lavender with deeper purple shadows and warm hints of red. These are the colors that Japanese artists revel in. Most people miss all of the loveliness of graceful line and delicate color harmony revealed by leafless trees. I am happy to say it is a curable form of blindness. By taking thought, one can learn to see the beauty of balance and symmetry that gives strength and grace to the frame of a tree, and beauty of form to the dead teasel and mullen. I'm not good at this. Stalks under it. One can learn to see the purple with the dun of the autumn grain fields, and the blue in the hemlock shadows on the snow. We may not all be painters, but we may enter into some of the joys the artist finds in the common things about us. Next spring will be a good time to watch the gray bud scales expand, turn green, then pink, and then white. From April on, we may see the steps by which the miracle progresses. Flowering dogwoods do not grow wild in any country but for ours. They are being exterminated in many places. They are cut for the paltry bit of lumber yielded by their spindling trunks. It ought to be a capital crime to cut a single one. They are destroyed for less cause. Here is an example. A hermit lived alone in a strip of woods along Little Michigan Lake. He loved trees and plants and kept this area a veritable nature's garden, and willed it to the nearby city on his death. The park commissioners, when they had spread their thanks upon the records, took immediate steps to, quote, put the grounds in shape. 2 strong laborers was sent in to clear it up. They cut out all the dogwoods, quote, because they didn't trim up straight. Lower limbs, small trees, and underbrush were all sacrificed to make straight the paths of picnic parties and to get a nice sod started. The gentle donor of this tract would have broken his heart over the look of it when these improvements were completed. Though he, quote, leaned out from the gold bar of heaven, I think he must have hurled imprecations down upon the stupidity which undid all he had so lovingly and intelligently done, but chiefly slothful and incompetent commissioners who trusted such work to such hands. Only the people themselves, intelligent and vigilant, can defend themselves from such maltreatment and save from destruction a natural beauty which belongs to us all. Dogwoods.